are, back at the bench for another episode of Penguin Mania. Anyway, can I tell you? Spring has started. It's getting warm. All kinds of crazy stuff going on. I had to shut the window. There's I live in Brooklyn, right? I'm making this video in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and there's a freaking woodpecker in the trees out back, just like driving me nuts. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, wildlife is good. I love wildlife. It's just, I want to make a video, and it's like not my thing. So anyway, what are we doing? Well, I got this razor out, and I got to take this off. This piece of tape on the backside of the blade was something I put on to help train the scales after I remounted this. I did it a while ago. Anyway, it's a Wade & Butcher. It's a faux frameback. Has edge damage up here. So I got this toothy thing going on. I figured, what the hell, I'm going to hone it. I've been doing a lot of work with, what do you call these things? Arkansas stones. This is a Washita, by the way, right? Been doing a lot of work with them on and off for a really long time. I've had Arkansas stones for a really long time. It's just something that, I grew up with. So I stayed away from them with razors because, you want to use the softer stones, the coarser stones to set bevels, right? But with Arkansas stones, you need to use oil on them because they're porous, and the particles will get into the pores and whatever, and it'll clog. So you got to use oil. It keeps everything like fluid. And then with the oil, like if it gets gummed up, you just soak it in Caro or something, and that breaks the oil down, and it all washes away, and you go at it with a brush, and everything is hunky-dory. Anyway, the thing is, with arcs, soft arc, hard arc, the various language for the hardest arcs: true hard, surgical black, translucent, what have you. Soft arcs, you have soft arcs, and then you have the softer arcs, which is Washita. Washita, like this is very vintage, right? These aren't mined anymore. These are like the key, okay? To me, they're a key to Arkansas stones, because these will cut better for like stuff like bevel setting, right? They will cut better, faster. They're a lot easier and smoother to work with too than like a soft arc. A soft arc is a very nice thing to have. I have one. Where are you? Over here. So I wrecked the place. Okay. So I have this, and does a good job. But it's a very open, porous type of stone. And this is a little creamier and tighter and not so Swiss cheesy, for lack of a better term. Swiss cheesy. Somebody write that down. So it makes for a better honing experience. It cuts faster. It cuts smoother. It's less prone to chipping. You can definitely get some chipping on a soft arc if the surface isn't set right. If you set the surface too coarse on a soft arc, it's just going to like bite away at your blade. So, you read old manuals on stones and honing and stuff, and you'll find people talking about doing, what do you call it, spine leading strokes, and that's part of the reason why. But anyway, you get yourself a Washita, and I'm not saying go out and buy one. These things are expensive. This is a 6x2. You can get a deal, sure, but I think the going prices for these are just kind of like high. Now, I'll have a bunch of them in my Etsy store, some across the year, because I have too many arcs here, and some of them just got to go. And you can buy one, you can get a deal if you know how to spot one, then you can spend like, countless hours cleaning it, and that's kind of what this is. This did not arrive looking that way. Okay, see the back? This is after cleaning for like 2 weeks. So this is all ground in crud, and you can use it in this condition after it's been soaked and cleaned, and you've extracted everything out of it. Okay, this side is a lot better, and it's lapped. These lap on a 140 Atoma really well, so you don't need to go to sick. silicon carbide powder. You don't need to do that with these. You can. If you have a big one, it might, help do it faster. But this one I just did on the Atoma, and it's fine. And the finish is, you know, kind of coarse, but if you feel it, it doesn't feel like, a 140 Atoma surface. It feels pretty good. So, anyway, these are the key. To me, these are the key to a progression of Arkansas stones if you're honing razors. Can you do it with a soft arc? Yes. Trust me, once you get one of these and you get it cleaned up and you get it lapped right and you get that surface like right where you want it, you'll never go back to a soft arc for the beginning. You might use it for the next step, but you'll keep using this. Trust me on that, all right? Here's the box. This is a number 1 Washita, right? See how disgusting this box is? Cardboard. Um, this box is from the 40s, and yeah, it's gross. It stinks too. Yeah, it smells like machine oil. All right, so I don't like that in my house. I'm probably going to get rid of that box if I keep this one, but I don't have it to collect it. Okay, so I'm cleaning here. I'm applying oil here, and not entirely jazzed with what I'm feeling. All right, learn to feel your stone. Okay, learn to check texture. Learn to pay very close attention. There's something on the surface. Not sure what it is. Could be lapping residue. Better. Kind of like a dried up oil, or maybe some bits of stone particle from lapping that was like just pressed down and just showed up now when I was putting the lubricant down. So it's one of those things you got to be careful of, because if that was actually little tiny micro bits of stone, that will destroy any attempt to make an edge. All right. So you see, this is my Tomo Glide oil. It's all natural. It's free range. It's made from happy oil seeds. It's water soluble. All right. It's non-toxic. Rinses off. It's organic. It's a whole lot of stuff. All right. So I got this blade. I got tape on it because I feel like putting tape on it. All right. Go call the tape police. So I'm going to put a little more oil down. Now, feedback on these when you're setting a bevel on a razor, and feedback will change with pressure. So I'm going to stay specific to working on a razor, because if I was going to be like, say, working on this knife, right, everything would be different. Feel-wise, sound-wise, everything. Now, this is number 1 Washita, and this will be a little harder and finer than like a standard Washita that won't have a number grade. It won't be quite as hard and quite as fine as a lily white. Now, here's where it gets really confusing. Over the years, the grades went away. So at some point, number 1, you didn't see them anymore. You just saw a stone called Washita. I think the lily whites went away. There was another like brand called, well, it was made by Norton Pike, but it was called Rosy Red, and that wasn't a grade. That was from a particular quarry. And so you have all these like names, right? Number 1 Washita. What's the grit rating of this? Well, it is what it is. If I lap it with a 100 plate, it'll be coarser, it'll be faster, so it'll seem like a lower grit stone. If I polish this surface up to, whatever, 2 or 3K, you might actually be able to get very close to a shaving edge out of this. So somebody might want to say, it works like an 8K. I won't be that person, but I bet you somebody would. This is the way I look at arcs. Forget grit. No grit. There's no grit out there with Arkansas stones. Just forget the concept of grit, okay? These stones kind of have to be trained. You got to get the surface where you want it. You got to maintain it and keep it oiled and as clean as possible so you don't gum it up and you don't clog the surface so all the particles get to do their job. And it takes as long to hone as it takes as long to hone. It's not like a Japanese water stone where you go like 1K, 3K, 5K, 8K, 12K, done. It doesn't work like that. Right now, put a little pressure on as I continue to go. I'm going to back off. Okay, I'm looking at my undercut here. I'm using my left hand to guide because I have a warp and I need to roll. And I need to hit that bevel all the way across so I can clean up all that jagged crap at the end. And I will inspect as I go along. Now you notice I don't have like a river of oil on the stone. You don't want a river of oil on the stone. Could I do this with soap and water? Yes, I could. The problem is it's a porous stone and it's going to soak soap in. And if you've ever seen soap turn into soap scum, you don't want that in your stone. So I'm not going to advocate the use of soap and water on a soft stone. Glycerin is okay for a lot of things. Again, it attracts water and it'll hold it, so you don't want that in your stone either. I really think that oils are the best bet for these softer arcs. And I've said it a million times, I hate the feeling of oil on my fingers. This stuff that I'm using, this oil, it has a little bit of that feeling going on, but it doesn't have the petroleum smell. It doesn't have the petroleum slippery kind of toxic kind of feel. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm very sensitive to these things. I enjoy these stones, so I compromise what I would normally find to be an ideal honing situation, which would normally be like, slurry and water, or just use a synthetic whetstone that runs on water, like a 320 Shapton or something. So let's take a look here, shall we? This is a very stiff blade, right? It's like a wedge. It's a skinny wedge because it's a faux frame back, but it's still like it's thin, but it's not thin and flexy like a full hollow. So another thing about this oil I'm using, because it's not a petroleum base, it doesn't eat the adhesive on the 3M tape. Yep, steel on this puppy has suffered lack of attention over a very long period of time. People ask, what tape do you use? I always use 3M. I have a variety of 3M tapes though. I have Super 88. I think it's Super 33 Plus. And the one I use most of the time is Temflex 1700. The 33 and Temflex 1700 are both 7 mils. The 88 is 8 mils. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day, I guess. But is what it is. What I'm doing is I'm exaggerating my roll. So I'm going to get a little bit of bevel cut up into, I'm going to bring the edge right there. I'm not going to put sharp, sharp, sharp to there, but I want to start here to grind. All right. The true edge is going to start back from that, but it has to be like a transition. You just can't have like crap steel and then boom, good edge. You have to have like a fade, you know? So for me, what I do is I extend my bevel area a little bit forward. I don't like to do half strokes. I feel as though you wind up compromising your work. Now, I will use them, but not for what I would call refined honing. I will use it here for stock removal. I'm almost not pushing down at all. There's a lot of torque back here. That's keeping the edge down. So I'll use an exaggerated heel forward X in a half stroke pattern. Using my left hand, it's allowing me to pivot the blade. I have less than 2 inches of width and only 6 inches of length on this. If I could find a stone this quality that's like 10 by 3, I think I would throw like a block party. Hmm. All right, so now the big chip. Most, not all, but most of the little distraction stuff that runs from the toe down to about the middle of the blade is pretty much under control. Not gone. Okay, it still looks like a war zone over there. In this area here, especially, it's tattered, it's ragged. Okay, I'm not worried about it because I still have this like chunk missing from over here. But now the chunk, instead of going over the shinogi, is now entirely within the bevel. Okay. You want to be careful. You need to use pressure because you need to cut, right? But you don't want to be flexing blades. And even though this is a very stiff blade, you can still bend something. And you also don't want to gouge into the stone. Even though it's an Arkansas stone, it will wear. Even though this is novaculite, it will wear. You will dish. You will. It's worse than dishing. You get this like oval in the center. It's a dish, but it doesn't come all the way to the edge. So if you're not careful when you check for flatness, that could hide. So you have to be cognizant of the wear on your stone. All right. You have to watch where you're applying pressure. You should be looking to move it around as much as possible. Things that are in your way should get moved. That was my loop. So while I'm grinding away here and I'm mucking up this previously nice white surface, I'm just going to throw it back in simple green when I'm done here. It's all nice and well to, you know, keep your stones like super clean, but they they do get dirty when you use them. It's just that I kind of want to clean this to the next level. I mean, it was pretty clean when I showed it to you, but the backside needs to be cleaned more. You know that I would like to get that whiter. And plus, if I decide to get rid of it, and I may because I have a bunch of Washita, I'd like to move it out with clean working surface. Well, you guys can see the swarf, right? Part of how I know that I'm even on both sides is the feedback on the stone. That's part of it. Visual inspection, you know, because you see me going back and forth and like not paying a whole lot of attention. Look, it's a razor, okay, it's just a razor, but you don't want to put like a half-inch bevel on one side and a micro bevel on the other. So you want to have some balance there. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll literally come right off. All right, it's okay. Just have to be careful. The edges are not only chamfered, but they're a little bit rolled. The corners are drilled down, and the same for the other edges. All right, and these short edges here have all been rolled also. Sharp edges on these stones become a liability. If you whack them, they can chip. If they're rounded, they can survive easier. Someone asked me to do a video showing a whole progression. I don't think so. I'm going to do some bits and pieces, and you can tie it all together by watching them. I'll put them all into a playlist and stuff like that. But to sit down and do a video, start to finish, listen, you're going to hone razors on these things, labor of love, okay? You got to get the stone. Okay, let's say you go for a Washita. You got to get one. It's going to be filthy. Okay, so you got to spend a lot of time cleaning it up because you got to clean the pores up or it won't cut right. So that's some time and work investment there. Then you get it out, then you clean it off, and you have a reasonable surface, but now you got to flatten it. So then you got to lap the snot out of it, and then all of a sudden you get it lapped and you're ready to go, but you have to chamfer it, and you have to roll the edges and clip the corners. Okay, so it's more work. And then you have a 6x2 stone. So there's that. And then you can see it's not like super speedy, you know? It's just not. So your honing is going to be a while, you know? Anyway, it's time. No matter how you slice and dice it, is a lot of time invested in honing with these stones. What's the upside? Heirloom quality stones you can hand down for multiple generations. If you have kids, you can give your kids the stones that you showed them how to hone on. They'll have them, they'll pass them on to their kid. You have that nice family hook. You got stones here made in America, cut in America, shaped in America, sold to you by people here in America. That's a really nice thing. Well, for me it is. Yeah. I think most people, you know, they have a certain sort of something for the stuff that the country they were born and live in, like hasn't does, like food. You know, it's like I don't know, specialty foods that only come from where you are. Like you're proud of that, right? Well, you know, I like knowing that these came from Arkansas. I also like knowing that like people have been honing and sharpening on Arkansas stones for like a gazillion years. Makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger than me, you know. I like the fact that it's all natural, nothing plastic, no synthetic. You know, people ask me, why don't you use films? Because I have films here. I don't like them. I don't like honing on them. I don't like the way they look. They look stupid. The whole thing with them, it kind of pisses me off. It's like you don't want to use a rock. You want to use film, but then you get the films and you got to get a rock to put it on. It's like, really? Where the hell is my loop? Okay. So, all right. I really wish the chip was bigger in a way, or at least I wish my what do you call it, phone had better magnification. But the chip now is ultra mini. Okay, it is not only is it now entirely in the bevel, it's half the dimension of the bevel. All right, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to do some more focused work here. If you ever wonder like why I go the wrong way on an X, there used to be this guy Jose, and he made strops, and man, he made some really fine strops. I still have one actually. It's the only strop not made by me that I still have. His company was called Ambrose, and I think there was an attempt to revive that company in the last year, but something didn't like click. Anyway, um, Jose made a video, and he called it efficient honing, and it shows him going all kinds of ways. And if you read old texts, you read about people honing, sharpening in a way to keep the abrasive in the stone from dialing in to the steel. Now, that's not really an accurate way to look at the situation because it doesn't dial in, not really. But in Jose's mind, making striations going one way and then striations going another way and having that alternate by one over the other, okay, you're definitely not letting the striations get comfortable, right? That's the only way I can explain it. Do some more grinding like this. I'm going to go back to my half strokes. Let me move that out of the way. Excuse me. So basically, I'm going to wind up with a smile on this. Well, it had a smile. Okay, so it's not like I'm honing it in there. I'm just saying that's going to be the eventuality of things. Okay, the what do you call it? The chip is like a nothing right now. It's small enough where if I just continued to hone and it would be shavable. I don't do stuff like that because it just bites me on the ass later on every freaking time. Okay, so when I'm honing at a chip, any type of heavy work on the stone, you guys can hear the difference in the feedback, right? A lot more smooth, not so gritty, not so gravelly, right? You want to sneak up on it, right? You don't want to take off more material than you need to. Okay, chip's gone. To get the edge out of the ratty state into a situation where I would call it a finished bevel. It's going to take some work. I would clean the stone off. I would change my attack. Okay, I would not be leaning so hard on the stone. You saw me putting some good amount of pressure on there, right? And remember, I can do that because this is a heavy grind blade. Well, I shouldn't say a heavy grind. It's a wedge, but a skinny one. Anyway, there's not so much flex, so I can add more pressure than I could with a gold dollar, something like that. So, like I said, I'm going to clean this off. I'm going to pull the tape off, clean everything, inspect. I'm going to go to like a higher magnification so I can really see exactly how much rattiness is in there. I'll come back, clean stone. I might even lap this down. Right now, this is at a 140 surface. I might lap the surface down to a 400. Might really put some time into that. Really get it like nice and slick. Drop my pressure, put my rolling stroke in, and work on it that way. That will allow me get to a finished bevel. I have another session. It's going to be about a third as long as the one I just went through. Sorry for this being so long, but what's good about the fact that we sat through this little process is that you know it can be done. Okay, people ask all the time, can you hone on Arkansas stones? Well, sure. Can you do a progression? Well, sure. This is the toughest part right here. Everything after this, after I clean the bevel up, the rest is gravy. I'll get a hard arc out. I'll throw down some soap and water on that, or maybe do some oil too. I don't know. And really polish that up, and then I'll go to a translucent, and I'll do my finish on that. And someone just asked me, they say, can you get a surgical edge? Dude, a surgical edge really isn't that sharp. Okay, you want a real shaving edge. Now, that's freaking sharp. And yes, over the past couple of weeks, I've shaved on a number of arc-specific blades. Can be done. I'm just not going to do the whole thing in front of you because it takes longer. Okay, it takes longer than it does on any other stone set. Just the way it is. All right, so anyway, here's my penguins. I don't want to get them too close to the oil. They're not really keen on the oil. Again, Wade & Butcher, Washita. You see one, grab one. If you have patience, I'll have some in the store, probably starting maybe in a month or two. Okay, so you saw all about the Washita. Great stone. Get yourself one. You can do the same thing with a soft arc, but you'll be happier with a Washita, trust me. Invest the money. If you want to work with arcs, pick one of these up and put the time in getting it dressed right. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Put the time and effort in to get it dressed right, and you will be a happy camper. That's my spiel about Washita. Until next time, take care. Get out there, have some fun, and talk to you soon.